Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing Here we have real people sharing their stories and how they've overcome obstacles in their life. So here today we have Christine Ines. She is a visionary entrepreneur, storyteller, and the CEO and founder of the Corporate Escapists, a renowned media company that harnesses the power of storytelling to help entrepreneurs attract their ideal client. With a deep understanding of the profound impact stories have on human connection and consumer behavior, Christine has revolutionized the way entrepreneurs communicate and sell their products and services. All right, welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you for having me, beautiful. Super excited to be here.
Yes, great to have you. And I like to start off each show by asking if you could share with the audience about a time in your business or personal life where you overcame an obstacle and got back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally how my business all started. So 2015, I was diagnosed with 2 life-changing illnesses. I was working in the corporate world, climbing that shiny corporate ladder. Then realized with my diagnosis, I was also in a toxic, unfixable marriage. Also then had to file for bankruptcy. So completely lost everything. And then really went on a journey of actually finding who I was without my corporate identity. And then from there, people started to notice a difference. And I started to share my personal story. And from that, now nearly 4 years later, I have actually created a global media and publishing company, helping other people share their story authentically as well.
That's so wonderful. Yes. And we all, if you have not lost everything at least once or twice in life. And it's funny because every time that I've gone through a cycle like that, it's like it gets easier. And
Yes.
you could plant me in any state, country in the world, and I'd be back on my feet in like a minute. So it's lots of practice. So
absolutely.
Yes. And those relationships, oh my gosh, they teach us okay, no, that's not the one. Next. And you just learn really fast what aligns. So it makes a big difference for sure. Yes. So I'd love to learn a little bit more, if you want to share with the audience how the storytelling works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll ask you the question. Have you ever had that moment where someone is sharing a story with you and, they're in a situation in their life and you automatically think of a book or a person, or it could be a podcast or a TV show or even a TikTok video that they need to go and watch or listen to? Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you've had those moments, and this is the power of storytelling, because when we share our stories, we are really connecting. And I'm a big believer that, there's an energy transfer that happens when we share our stories, and you get emotionally connected to that person and to the story. And what happens then at the right time, you then literally start to share that other person's story, or, in those moments where somebody else is sharing, you go, hey, I need to do it. And you're giving sort of personal references as such to that person because you've really been connected with it. And what we've also learned is in the process, like in marketing world, people need at least sort of around 22 to 26 touch points. So they need to hear you, listen to you, read about you about 26 times before they feel really comfortable to buy from you or to work from you. But storytelling actually speeds up that process. it normally likes about 10x's that process, because people automatically feel like they know you. And by doing that, they're personally connected. And, especially like with coaches, or if you're selling a product, people want to know who's behind that. They really want to get emotionally invested. And if you think of some of the really big companies, let's talk about Disney, for example, like that's how Disney's created, is through stories. And when you go to Disneyland, it's because you're creating memories, you're creating a story for your life. So big brands actually use storytelling, and it's really something that every single business owners need to actually use in their business.
Right. I love that. And it's so important. I remember sharing some of my story for the first time, and I thought, oh, I don't want to share that. That was like something I struggled through or what have you.
Yeah.
And it was like the most profound connection I had when I shared that story with friends and different people, because they connected, because they've also gone through something similar in one form or another. And it's like, oh, okay, it kind of brings us all together as one, in a sense, that we're all going through this crazy, interesting, incredible human experience, and we're going to have those ups and downs. So we don't have to be perfect and, and pretend like everything's great, because it's just reality. It's life. If you get the blessing of living long enough on this planet, you get to go through life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it's enjoying the highs and lows of it all. I used to cringe like when something bad would happen. Now I'm like going, okay, well, what's the learning lesson? What can
Yes.
I learn from that moment? Sometimes
Mm.
it might take me a day, maybe a week or so to get out of that, because, you have what I call like a pity party, for yourself. But, there's always learning lessons in everything. And it's also in the highs and also the lies in life as well.
That's so true. Incredible. Yes. Now, can you give me an example of some of the clients and their what has transpired after they've worked with you in this process?
Oh, oh my goodness. Like honestly, I always go back to a couple of like main people that I've worked with. And, I've had incredible results from people when they've started to share the stories. One lady had her own skincare line. We featured her in the magazine, and then her product actually got picked up by British Vogue. So, which was incredible. That's just from sharing the story and people learning more about it. We've had people that's had massive impact, and reach as well, and then being picked up for speaking engagements as well for it. So, it's been quite varied, but a lot of it is that, people will go, oh, I heard your story. And what I love the most is that we do it not just in a magazine, but we also have a TV show and a podcast. So depending on which is your favorite way to learn or to listen or to consume information, we've got it covered in all of those three major sort of types of information, that we can put out to people. And, it for me, I feel like it's like an evergreen sort of marketing tool for you, because it's always there. And you know what it's like once it's out in the media, it's
Right.
always there. It can always be found on Google.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. I did a HGTV show years and years ago, and then I was traveling, and there I was in the hotel watching the TV, and I showed up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this." It was
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
So they never forget. That's
No,
right. Yeah.
never forget.
I was like, "What? Oh my goodness." Yeah, it was like doing a real estate, so I was just touring the house as an agent
Yeah,
thing. So it wasn't like a big part or anything. It was really happening. And they just threw me in the show. So
that's so cool.
wild. It is wild how that happens. Yes,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
is.
no, definitely. And you never know who's watching. Like this is the key
Mhm.
thing, like we never know who is actually watching or listening. And you know what it's like on social media, like I call them the silent followers, because they don't like or comment or anything like that. Then all of a sudden they show up and I go, hey, I've been following you for 12 months and
Oh, that's
all this stuff. I'm like going, what?
and you don't even people will tell me things I've said and I'm like, "What? I have never seen a like from you."
Yeah.
Nothing. No, I didn't
Yeah.
even know.
Exactly. And this is the power of media. This is the power of, being relatable.
Mhm.
Because I think the key thing is that if you're showing up online, when you are out in person, like people want to match the two together. Like there's nothing worse than when you see somebody, like I get like movies and stuff like that, but like if you're watching somebody, on a TV show or something like that, and it'd be like if they met you and then all of a sudden you've got brown hair, like it'd be they're like, oh, hey, what? Like,
All right, blonde wig off. Right?
Yeah, like it's like we really want to be able to show up like authentically, and this is, I think, the most powerful message for everybody is show up as yourself. Be you, because people are going to be attracted to you, and if they're not, well, then they're not your clients, and that's okay.
That's so true, so true. And there's a point where when I started out, for sure, where I was getting clients that weren't aligned in certain areas with the consulting. And then the more authentic I became and the more I shared my story, the more people that were aligned showed up. And I was like, oh, these are my people. This is easy. There's no work in this. It's just fun. And it's blessing everyone. And so it's really cool. So it's like a breath of fresh air, because there's nothing to do except for be yourself.
Exactly.
Easy.
It is. It is. I think that's one of the key things I learned in corporate. Like I would go home and I would be exhausted every single day because I was pretending to be somebody who I wasn't.
Oh.
And like now hats off to actors, because like I'm like, it is hard work pretending to be somebody who you're not. So if you can show up as just who you are and really embrace and love every aspect of it, like flaws and all, your right people will come. And it's like I just said, it's easy because all you got to do is be you. You don't have to pretend anymore.
And I think that gets back to that self-love with our society, the way it is. There's a lot of people that struggle with the negative self-talk, and there's lots of different activities to help people through that. But it makes such a difference. I mean, I raised 6 amazing children. I adopted three of my own. So I've got this beautiful family, and I always instilled that, self-love and self-confidence. Sometimes it comes from doing work, getting the job done, rolling up your sleeves and doing something you don't like to do. and then you're like, I did this. And there's pride in that. And it's not like a prideful pride. Like it's more like I can do this. My mother had confidence in me. So I have confidence that I can go do the next thing in life. And so it's a big thing. And sometimes I think some people, and with my oldest, I did this, you overhelp your children or even your clients or anybody you're working with, where they need to also stand on their own 2 feet. They need to have their adversity and go through that. And that's just like in life. We go through these things and they're learnings and lessons for whatever the purpose may be. And it's almost like when you realize what the purpose was in the situation, you're free. It really is.
It's so true. And that whole alignment, like I think a lot of times people, we forget ourselves in the process because we're just a mom or we're a business owner or we're, all these labels. But like come back to self, come back to who you are, have your own mission and purpose and values for yourself, and really stay true to that. And I think, as we grow and evolve, like those things will change, and that's okay. It's like giving ourselves permission. It's like going back to being a kid again. We have to give ourselves permission to be happy. It's giving ourselves permission to change the direction of where we're going in our life. It's okay to, do something different, wild and crazy. And, especially business owners, like, you go into business and people are going, oh, aren't you scared? I'm like, yeah, I am scared. But, the whole fact is that that's okay. It's pushing me outside my comfort zone. And I'm okay taking that road less traveled, opposed to, just following the norm. I did that for so long. But you have to sometimes just go back to being a child and actually give yourself permission to do it. And it's okay.
Yes. I think that's one of the biggest things I've seen with clients that I've worked with is there's a point in our lives where we grow up. And just about every single one, I'm working with them in business or I'm helping them with real estate or whatever it is. And it just comes up because we always become good friends and all my clients. And so it comes up that they forgot something. They stopped playing sports. They
Mm.
stopped riding horseback riding or swimming or whatever. Something, it doesn't cost money usually. It's like something that's free or almost free, that they could do, that they stopped because they had to grow up. They had to go to college, or they had to have children, marriage, the whole thing, corporate life.
Yes.
And you give up a piece of your soul. And it's almost like, how are you going to parent your children if you're not 100% you, because you've cut off that happy part?
Yes.
And that's what they're like, because your children usually are like you. And if they're not able to go pursue their talents and loves, do you want them to grow up to do that? No way.
Yes.
So how
Yeah.
are we modeling? It's how we're being that's going to affect them. And it's not what we say or teach, it's what we do.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
much so. So much so. It's like practice what you preach,
Mhm.
and that's a key thing. Like my son said to me a few years ago, he goes, I don't even know who you are anymore, mum, because all he knew was the corporate mum.
Yes.
Now it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't start work until 9 o'clock, and that's because I do my meditation. I do like my morning routine, and then I'll make sure that I'll get down to the beach a couple of times a week and take the dog for a walk. Like he's just like going, but like you're not like working 100-hour weeks. I
Right.
probably still do, but
Yeah.
I actually love what I do.
I know, me too. This is it. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to love what you do, because there's nobody telling us. We have to do it ourselves. That's a hard thing. What do you have for advice for those people that are going into creating their own business or becoming an entrepreneur for the first time?
Ooh, just do it. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you're going to sit there and you're going to have, a list, like a to-do list of like, my website needs to be perfect. My, images need to be perfect, like all this sort of stuff. I actually took the word perfection out of my vocabulary because it simply doesn't exist. So start before you're actually ready, because
Yeah.
you're going to learn so much more along the way. There's no perfect time. Just
Yeah.
do it.
That's so true. That's so true. And I'd like to get back to that one point you brought up earlier about the touches. And that's in marketing, how many times you have to be in front of your audience in order for them to have trust enough to actually even look you up or start to see what you're offering.
Mm.
And then maybe you make a sale or bring them into a course or what have you. Explain how that gets 10x. What does that look like? What is the difference there with the stories?
Well, yeah, if you don't know somebody and you're looking at a brand, for example, or you're looking at, products are probably a little bit different, but if you're talking about, let's say, coaching, there's so many coaches out there. So what is going to set you apart is you. And by showing up and showing people, like for me, I choose my coaches because they've done it or they've worked in that field. But I want to get to know them on a personal level, because I like to make sure that I'm working with people that I'm completely aligned with as
Mhm.
well in values. But also someone who's going to push me. So the more you show up as you, there's a whole like, no trust factor. So they've got to like you, they've got to get to know you, and then they've got to trust you before you can go and work with you.
Mhm.
And to speed that up is through stories. It's through you being yourself and showing up. And there's a really great way that we teach our clients to interweave the story into your offerings as well, so that you can then go, well, you went from this is how I did it, and this is how I teach it, and this is the results you get. And you
Yeah.
can interweave the story into it as well. And I know a lot of people get so scared about showing up on camera. They get so scared about being, out in front. But if
Yes.
you're not promoting your business, who is?
Right. Right. That is a tough one to get over the camera thing. That is huge. And I know now we've got the Zooms and the trainings and everything. You've got to be on that camera so much. I think we're all starting to get used to it more. But
Yeah.
and I just tend to look at the light and look at the other person. I don't
Yeah.
look at myself at all. So that kind of works for me. That's how I do it. And so that works. Yeah. But it's a big thing. And once you get past that and think about the people that you can serve and help
Mm.
form or another, and you get into contribution, into heart work, then it's really easy.
Oh, absolutely. If you can let go of your own ego, of like what you think you look like, or what you think you sound like,
Yeah.
because that was my big thing. Like, there's certain words I can't pronounce. There's certain things that I don't like talking about. But the key thing is, it's no longer about me. It's about the people who I'm here to serve.
Mhm.
And just by doing that, I remember my first live, and this is how, like, when the business, like, I was literally sweating from everywhere, like, because I was so nervous. And
Right.
now, like, I don't care. I go and do lives without makeup or anything like
Yeah.
that now. So, because I know it's no longer about me. But, just practice, just go on there and have fun. Like, make it fun, make it not about you. And honestly, I think the most important thing is, it's about the people who you want to attract. And if you've got people around you who are the negative Nancy's, who, are not supporting you, go and find a new tribe, and
Oh,
find the tribe that's going to support you.
that's right. Oh, peer group is so important.
Mm,
And if you're aligned, it's great. There's nothing wrong with setting some healthy boundaries. It doesn't matter if it's a family, friends, whoever it is. And, do they get to be close? Or maybe it's just you're kind. You can still be kind, but they don't get to get into your inner circle
yeah.
and affect you. And so, oh, there was this wonderful, I just watched Agape today live, and so there was this wonderful point that Michael Beckwith made about this whole thing. When other people are affecting us, they're in control. We
Yes.
have given them the keys. And I was
Yes.
like, "Oh my gosh, give me my keys back." That's right. Oh, no, no.
Yeah.
And so it was a wonderful, wonderful reminder that, yeah,
Mhm.
they are in control. The minute we even blame, if you blame somebody else
Mm.
for whatever XYZ happened, they were bad people, whatever, whatever, you could, the story, get the violin out. And whatever we blame, we don't own it. We don't take any personal
No.
responsibility. So who owns us? That thing, person, place, or thing.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, that's something. It was just really, it's such a beautiful day. And you talked earlier about how you do your meditation in the morning. So like today I went and I did a beautiful meditation and a yoga, and then I watched my agape, and I just had a great Sunday, a beautiful, relaxing Sunday. And now we're having this wonderful conversation. And so it's something that you have to schedule yourself in. For me,
Mm.
Sunday is my day where I also take a little bit of time and I do my planning in solitude. And so I actually plan out my entire week. And the first thing I do is I book my time with my
Mm.
family, my time to go work out, or my, spiritual practice, all that. And then of course work and all that gets in there, but my time has to be in there, or else my jar doesn't get full and I can't serve others that way at all.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, like, we all have heard the saying, if you're in the airplane, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first. And it's so true. Like, I've done the burnout thing. I've been through it all. And that's because you help so many other people. And most of us, in life will go through and be a people pleaser. And I say that I'm a recovering one, because I don't think you can ever heal it fully sometimes. But, it's you, it's your life. And I think this is the key thing that we forget. Like, it is your life, and you have to take the ownership for it. And, I speak so much, like you talked about, like, owning a story. And I
Mhm.
think that every single person needs to do it. The only person who needs to own it is yourself.
Right.
So every little bad thing that may have happened, all of the good things, like, absolutely everything, stand in front of the mirror and just say, this is what's happened. But it
Mm,
no longer then defines you. And then, like you said, it gives you the power back.
right.
Those people don't have that power over you, because you've owned it. You're not living in that guilt and shame anymore.
That's
And it's such an empowering thing to do.
mhm,
And I mean, I did that when I owned, and I actually said that I had to file for bankruptcy. I was so filled with guilt and shame, thinking, oh,
mhm.
who's going to want to work with somebody who has done that? But that was me having that guilt and shame on myself. And by owning it And now I can actually go, you know what, that was me back then. It was a circumstance of what happened. It's
Right.
not who I am today. And it's actually probably makes me even more resilient, but also more focused to help my clients even more so they never have to go through that.
Yes, that's so true. And there's times in life where we go through things that my book talks a lot about this because it's all about life. The whole book is about life and the different journeys we have, grief, relationships, marriage, divorce, caring for our elder parents, all these things. It can set you off. Like, it's not going to just affect one area of your life. It affects everything. So like, when I lost my youngest son, I had some time off. I took my time and my healing journey. And, my daughter moved home. I mean, all kinds of things, the family first. And I had to get those things in order. And it was not an easy road. Grief comes out, woo, it comes out in its own way. It has its own, like, you think you're good, and nope. And it comes back, and you get better at coping with the change in that reality. But it's a journey. It is the hardest journey for me. That was really probably the hardest thing in my life. And and I'm known as the strong one. Woo, that gets you to your knees. So that's it. And we go through these things. And so it's okay when you have to do something like you had to do, with reorganizing your finances, because most people, when they're hit with things, it happens. And that,
It is.
yeah.
And you actually, I think in those times, like, you don't realize this, the strength that you can pull upon in yourself.
Yes.
But then you also realize who is the right people in that inner circle as well for you. And I always say that you'll know your true friends or the true people around you in your darkest times.
Oh, for sure. All my kids and we got to see who showed up and who didn't for that period of our lives. And then there were some people that they only showed up like a month later saying, "Hey, do you want to buy something from me?" And it was like, dude, like, you didn't even give me a sorry for your loss, here's a prayer or a meditation or, nothing. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to buy from you ever again. So, and you kind of learn, oh, okay, you're not really a real friend. You're just for money friend or something. It's like, no, that's not my friend. So it's those that show up. And I mean, I was surprised at the people that did show up. And I was like, wow, how beautiful, blessed, thank them. And oh my gosh. And you and I think we're very alike in that when you're a giving person, like, there is no way I wouldn't show up for anybody on my list. Like, you call me at 3 a.m. and you're on my list, I will wake up and talk to you. I will drive to your house. Where are we burying the body? So, I mean,
exactly.
so it's like, and then when you don't get the same reciprocation, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't aligned. This love isn't aligned, this friendship. So, yeah.
And then you start to feel how tiring that relationship can be. Like, in the right, I mean, I read somewhere the other day, like, no relationship is ever 50-50. Sometimes it goes 60-40, like 80-20, like, depending on what it is. But there is always give and take in every relationship. And if you're just the giver, like, if you literally today just think of all the relationships you have, and if you're only giving and you're not receiving, then that's not the right relationship at all.
No, it's almost like you're getting abused in a way, or used, and that manipulation or whatever it is. It's like, wait, how am I showing up that's attracting this? And what do I need to change in myself? Because it's not that person. It's what I'm doing and how I need to change that up. It's not about, I can't blame anybody else. It's about me and how I need to, maybe I need to show up with a new standard of, oh, that's a boundary. We don't treat me like that. And so it's a lot. Boundaries was a hard thing to learn in my life. Oof.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's insane. I literally sometimes, like, people will go, "Oh, but you're not the same person." But
Mhm.
it's not because I wasn't the same person. It's just I've learnt the boundaries. I've
It
learnt the self-love. I've learned the self-respect. So
Yeah.
I'm no longer accepting
Mhm.
anymore of, you know, the lesser. Like, if you want to be part of my life, it's sort of like, here's my values, here is what I stand for, and
Yeah.
that's okay. You don't have to agree to that, but that
Exactly.
doesn't mean that I need to. We can be an acquaintance. You don't need to come into my inner circle anymore.
That's right. That's right. And that's so peaceful. Gosh, I was really young when I learned boundaries and I still work on them. I mean, they're still like, oh, that was a surprising challenge. Whoops. It still shows up here and there. And I remember the first time I said no. Like, I
Mm,
was the mom that did all the volunteer and every single community. I was so involved with my community and every single thing, and with the 6 kids running businesses, and I was just so burned out. And one day I said no, and when I said it, it was almost like I had said a bad word. I was like, "Oh,
yes.
that came out of my mouth,
Yeah.
that no." And it shocked them and it shocked me. And then it started rolling off my tongue. And now I can say
Mm.
no with a
Well, it
smile.
took me into my 40s to learn that. So
Yeah, it took a lot, and so, oh man, I really realized, and there's a great
yeah.
book, it's by Cloud and Townsend. It's called Boundaries. It's more of a Christian-based book, but it's all about boundaries, and that was the book. It had just come out, and I think I was probably 19, 18, 19, somewhere in that range, and this book came out, and I read it, and it changed my life that way.
Oh,
Very
so
good.
good. So good. What
Yes.
is one book that you would recommend to everybody?
Oh, let's see, a book that I would recommend to everybody. Well, there is a new book coming out. It's going to be out next month, and it's called Out of the Tunnel. It's by Marvin Peake. He's a friend of mine, and it's been endorsed by Deepak Chopra and Tony Robbins. It's a very good book, and it's all about his story, Marvin's, and how he came out of the tunnel and his life experience. And it's just, I can't even say enough good about it. I got to read a forward chapter, and it's going to be very good. So that's coming out in July.
Oh, okay. I'll have to grab that one.
Yes, yes. And now I'd love to hear, like, if I was a client signing up with your program, what does that look like? How would that work?
Um, I guess it's literally like this. We sit down and we learn more about your business and we work out what's going to be the best strategy for you and your business. Like, no business is ever the same. So
Mhm.
it's working out which is going to be the best way. How we're going to get you in front of our clients, how, if you've ever crafted your story before. So sometimes a lot of people are, they haven't even worked out their story. And a lot of the times the story is the why you started your business. Let's go back to that
Yes.
and actually start sharing those messages to people. And we've got an amazing 12-month visibility package. So we work with you for 12 months and actually get you in every issue of the magazine. We get you on the TV show and the podcast. You get to write blog articles. You get to be on our email list and email your offers out to our clients. So we literally will do what we can to promote you, but then also too, we give you amazing then content for you to then share. And as you know, like, creating content sometimes I can sit there in front of the computer and go, oh, what do I write today? What do I need to share? Like, all that sort of stuff. So we want to save you some time and allow us to create the content for you, and then you get to share it as well.
Oh, wow, that's great. And it really, this storytelling and sharing and this whole thing sounds like something that can fit just about any business. It's not just for coaches or consultants. It really could fit with anyone. I mean, I think about with the real estate, I've been in real estate for, like, I mean, I'm going to share my age, like over 30 years, really. But, but when I got into it, it's like, oh, well, how do I know which real estate agent to pick when I was just investing?
Mm,
How do I
yes.
know? And then you figure out their story and what they're doing. So
Mm.
it makes a big difference. I mean, for me, I was investing before I became an agent, and everybody was like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "Shoot, I'm gonna tell them I might as well like be their agent because
Yeah.
they want me to teach them." I didn't even know it was coaching, and I was coaching. I had no idea it was
Yeah.
called coaching. They were just like, "Tell me and we'll pay you." And so that was it because I started investing when I was like 18 and a half. I bought my first triplex. So this
That's
has been
amazing.
passive income is really nice. And
Yes.
work is overrated. And I have done a lot of work in my life. I will roll up my sleeves and do the work whenever it takes, but I prefer to do hard work that's really making a
Mhm.
difference on this planet versus having to work to get food on the table or pay a bill. So that
Yes.
makes a big difference in creating generational wealth. And
Mm.
so all my kids are investing in their properties now already. So that it's a big thing. It gives you
Yeah.
control. It gives you the power to have control versus if you're paying rent, you're going to have somebody else could kick you out. They have to come look in your apartment, check. The maintenance people can come when they want. Maybe it's not convenient. They can raise the rent, they can kick you out. Just like, and you're not building equity. You're just sending
Mm.
that money. You're paying their mortgage. So
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And
crazy.
like just learning the different things, as like I was at school is so different to what they're learning now in school, which is great. But, we also need to learn the life lessons. We need to learn how to, like no one taught me how to manage money. Nobody taught
Yeah,
me the good thing about good debt, bad debt, like any of that sort of stuff. So I
right.
think, these are the sort of things that, we need to share. And if you're going to want to work with an investor, if you're going to want to work with, say, like somebody in finance or in property,
Mhm.
like you said, they are in a way coaching you, but why do you want to work with that person over somebody else? And it's because of what they stand for, and you
Ex
don't know that until they share their story.
That's right. That's so good. Well, that's incredible. Now, I'd love to ask you if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, good question. Good question. I think it would be to trust yourself more. Just trust you more.
Mm, yes, I love that. There's so much noise out there. Just listen to
Mm.
your own truth. I love that. Very good. And now where we're coming to the end of our time. So now where can people um, get a hold of your program, get started, learn more about what you're offering?
Yeah, so they can reach out to us on social media, which is at the Corporate Escapists, and that's on Facebook and Instagram, or they can send us an email, which is hello@thecorporateescapers.com. But yeah, follow us on socials and just send us a DM and reach out to us because, I just, like for me, I just absolutely love sharing people's stories. Like I actually feel like I get a free coaching session every
Uh,
time I share or
yeah,
listen to somebody else's story as well and get inspired myself. And that's what it is. We want to inspire people all around the world to find and follow their passion.
wonderful. That's great. All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in today. And you're all the way in Australia, is that
I
correct?
am. I am. So it's a Monday morning here. So
Oh, you're in the future.
yes.
We
It's
haven't
so
visited
weird.
time. So, yes, so I hope that you will come over and visit here in the
Yeah.
US, and then I will be going to Australia, I think, also in this next year as well. So,
Amazing.
yes, so hopefully we'll see you
Yes.
there or here. All right. All right. And thank you again for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after this messages. All right. Stay tuned. Okay.
Yeah.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I'd like to give a special thank you and shout out to the sponsors of this episode, Smart Labels. Hey listeners, let me tell you about a company you may not have heard of, Smart Labels. The company is making inventory management simple and very affordable for small business owners. Here's how it works. You buy the Smart Labels QR code stickers on Amazon. When the stickers arrive, just slap one on a container or shelf, download the Smart Labels app on your mobile device, scan the code, and the app creates a digital container for you. Write down all the information about the items you are cataloging and take a picture. You'll have all your inventory easily searchable in the palm of your hand. Sticker packs cost $16 and the subscription is only $30 per year. Get your Smart Label stickers on Amazon today. And so that's something that's very important in my life. Now, one of the things that Christine and I talked about a lot was we also discussed our children a little bit, and even our adult children, and how it's not what we say or tell them to do or give them the rules. It's how we live. It's who we're being and how we model our lives that's going to really affect our children or grown children. It's actually, if you are a business owner, leader, or even running a team, even if you just go to a work site, how you show up affects the energy, affects everybody else, and it just changes everything. So now I can go into a real estate explanation a little bit more on that. So there is something that I wanted to share about today in real estate. And how does that apply to real estate? Well, it applies in many ways. So there's many different communities that have special, like, city and government funding, and they literally like have funds to help businesses to remodel. And I can recall buying a property, a big storefront property in Monrovia on Myrtle. And it was a beautiful place, but it needed work. And the reason I purchased there was because there was funding to remodel that building. And so I did most of the remodeling work myself. I had a blast. Of course, I hired like people to help me do the construction part, but but all that was free. And so you may, if you're looking into invest, if you're along that far in your journey in properties, investing in properties for profits, then that is something that you can look into in the different communities. And it could be that one small town, I mean, it's a beautiful little small town in Southern California in the foothills. It's very close to Pasadena, and then Monrovia is not far away from there. And so and then there was Sierra Madre was another community I had purchased a place in, and Sierra Madre is another beautiful place that sometimes they have what they call like redevelopment funds, and sometimes they give it different names. And so you do have to check with your city. So if you are looking to purchase, whether it's for your own business or it's for getting into diversifying into some commercial units, then that is something to definitely consider. And you want to look at zoning. You want to see, is this commercial building zoned for only warehouse, or is it zoned for other use? And that can make a big difference also. So an example is I had another property that was zoned a warehouse, and everything for maybe 10 blocks was warehouse. And all of a sudden, they changed the zoning, and the zoning went up. So now you could rent to different people. And so per square foot, the amount you can charge per square foot went up like 5 times compared to the warehouse. So it was really a great thing. So to be aware of the zoning. And now in California, they're having some special zoning and code changes where you can add, like on a residential property, many times they're now allowing to add like a little back house or AUD, I think they call it. So depending where you are, there's certain communities where they're offering people the chance to be able to add a unit, and that can be quite affordable. That's something, of course, you have to look into the zoning first. You have to get your approvals and go to the city and work with somebody that can help you with that. That is a wise thing. And, get different quotes. Don't go with the first person. Get like 4 or 5 quotes. Make sure you have everything in writing. You get everything permitted first and you do the steps accordingly. You'll have to get things signed off. But then at the end of the day, you'll have a great place for, maybe you have grown kids that you want to come home, or you want to rent that unit out. And that is something that will bring you positive cash flow probably within a year or two, if not sooner, depending on what you end up being able to place in your yard. So there's just some fun things to look into for redevelopment and zoning that is going to make a difference. And so when you're working with a real estate agent, you want to work with an agent that knows how to find this information and figure out what the area is. It could be that you buy 3 blocks away and you miss out on all this money or opportunity to expand your property. And even if you don't have that time or money to expand now, later on you may go to sell that property, and because it has that zoning, you're going to get more per square foot, and it's just going to give you a better opportunity in the long haul. So that is the importance of working with somebody that knows what they're doing in that realm. Now, the last thing I want to talk about real quickly today is, if you are doing the vacation rental, then there's many different ways to do it. And I talked about this on the last show. So if you have not seen that episode, go back and watch it. You can find it for last week. So just look on my YouTube channel and you'll see the show that I talked about being a vacation rental superhost. And and I paid $35,000 for this house. I ended up, it was a prefab. I had $1,000 land lease, and I put in a little bit of like $4,500 for every little adjustment I made it beautiful. I separated it into 3 units, and I ended up cash flowing $6,000 to $8,000 a month with very little effort, and until the zoning changed. And at that point, I sold my $35,000 investment house that had cash flowed all this time, was, like 3 years or so. Then I sold it, made $295,000, and I used a special formula. It's a tax code 1031 exchange. And with that, I was able to avoid capital gains and exchange into a property that would cash flow and allow me to continue doing my Airbnb. So one of the secrets with the Airbnb, if that's something that sparks your interest, you definitely have to look into the zoning and the laws in your city. There's certain cities that absolutely do not allow any vacation rentals, and others do. So you want to look into the law beforehand, and the law can change. So you're never going to make, I would not make $6,000 to $8,000 a month renting that prefabricated house out. I would make maybe $1,800, $1,900 back then. This was 2015 when I purchased the property. So yes, it is still something that can happen. Even today, you can get deals. Might be a little bit more, but there's still deals. I can tell you that if you're looking. And there's other ways to do your Airbnb or your vacation rental. There's other companies that do that as well. And so some people do like an arbitrage. And so what they do is, there's a special lease that you can do, and you negotiate with different people that are renting out a unit, and in that lease, and that's where you need a real estate agent to help you create a lease like that and make that offer, so that the landlord's going to be super happy because you're going to be paying above, or a good rate for the rent, and you're going to keep it clean, you're going to manage it, and you will legally be able to rent out a unit that you end up making cash flow from, and everybody's happy. And that's all written in the lease and how that's worded. So that's kind of specific and special, but that's something that is possible if you don't want to own the property or be buying it. I always like to buy things because then you're building equity and you're able to do that exchange later on, which you definitely need help with that if you're new to that. So there's a special accommodator account that has to be set up before you sell. You have to ID 3 properties, and then you have to close within 180 days. So it's really important that you have a real estate agent that is knowledgeable in that. And I am working with Keller Williams Beverly Hills. So I have an incredible team. I have a team of agents I work with across the United States that I also refer people to that specialize in that, if that's where you're at in your buying process. So just call over and to Keller Beverly Hills and ask for Sheila Mack, and I'll be happy to help you that way. So there's that. And now there's another secret. So I hope you're taking notes. Get out your pens and paper. If you don't already have that, take some notes or take some mental notes if you're driving, because there is another secret. And that other secret is you're going to get more money from corporate rentals than you are from the high turnover. And you're going to have a different person in your vacation rental if that's the route you choose to go, and especially if you are renting out a room in your home. That's like really personal. If you can't separate the entrance and exit and you have to kind of share, you don't want to have people coming and going unless you're good with that. But for many people, it would be more comfortable to do a corporate rental. So I did a lot of corporate rentals with my vacation rental homes and still do. And so the rental home process that's corporate is people that are traveling for business. Many times their company will pay. So an example was a university in California was paying for a band to stay for 3 months at my little vacation rental in the canyon. And this band actually ended up playing the opening for one of the presidential candidates. So Barry Sanders. and so I loved it. I was actually staying in one of the units. I was in between travels. And so every night I had a band. They were paying me top, like they literally they paid the whole thing up front. And because I allowed them to record, they actually recorded for another album while they were there, and they did their practice for this very special performance. And I would sit out on the yoga deck, and this band would literally be playing music for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're paying me and they're doing a private band performance. And so like the neighbors would come over, and they were kind of far away, so nobody was bothered, but I'd invite people, and I'd invite my kids and friends, and we'd just listen to the band, and it was like a private party every night for 3 months. And I loved the people. They were really a good group. The professors came over because they were studying music. And so they had chosen this band, and they were in this program. So it was a whole process, and it was very professional, because you could picture band in different ways, but this was a very professional group. And that worked for my unit because I was like in the canyon in the middle of nowhere, and it was awesome. Now, other times I've had nurses, there's travel nurses. There's an entire group of nurses that travel, and they get paid like a stipend for their travel expenses. That's like $3,000 a month or something in that range. And I would just get paid, and I would know that that nurse would be there for months, and it could be half a year. And we'd have to do a little bit different with the way we structured everything, but they loved it. And I loved it because I didn't have to have the turnover. There was no parties going on. There was nobody was trashing my units. They were keeping it clean because this was like their home away from home. So they were taking care of things, and I kept it beautiful, of course, but they really did a lot of the maintenance themselves. As far as the upkeep, it was very low. It wasn't like I had to have the cleaning people there all the time. I still did a cleaning, once a week, and I'd get permission. And some of them didn't even want that. They really wanted their privacy, and that was great. So the corporate is the way to go if you're going on the I shouldn't say that name. I should say vacation rental route, whichever company you work with. And so those are my tips for today. And I hope you tune in next time, because we will be talking about some more great information to help you get started on your process of turning your properties into profit. And that's I'm going to go through the steps of how to pay off your debt and get your first home, all the way through how to buy luxury homes or vacation homes, or structure the way you live in a way where you could live in two states and benefit from both and have a blast, and actually be able to keep your current house and have a second house. So there's many ways to get into that realm. And so tune in next time. And if you would like to work with me or join the mastermind, I am building a new website, but the older one is working. So go to SheilaMac.com to connect. Or also, if you are currently looking for an agent, like I said, I do have an incredible team. And so give a call over to Keller Williams Beverly Hills and ask for Sheila Mac, and I will get back to you within the day. All right. And again, thank you for tuning in. This is Sheila Mac Show here on NBC's KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. See you next time. Tune in again right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.